Morning, kids. Today we will be discussing about the concept of transmission losses in our economic load dispatch problem. Coming to the recap of what we have done today. Yesterday we were discussing about economic load dispatch. Yesterday we were discussing about economic load dispatch, including losses. And we have assumed a variable term EL, which indicated we have included this term PL, which indicated the transmission losses. And we have also considered that it is a function of generations of various plants. So the constraint became this was the constraint. Earlier we have neglected the losses. Now we are including the losses. And now this was our problem yesterday. Minimization of total cost of generation subjected to this was the constraint. The only term which was included here was P, which is the transmission losses of your entire system. Now we have completed the solution yesterday, and we have got a condition now. We have obtained a condition now. This was the condition which we have obtained yesterday. And we have particularly named this one as the penalty factor. This particular term 1 by 1 minus dPL by dPGL. It is referred as penalty factor. And hence, our equation was this is already this was already referred as incremental cost in our last classes. So the condition was this was the condition which we have obtained, which meant that this was the condition for economic load dispatch, including the losses, which means that the product of incremental cost and the penalty factor at any plant must be constant, which means that the product of incremental cost and penalty factor of that plant, each plant must be same. This was what we have discussed yesterday, and this was the condition for this problem. Now, having discussed all these things yesterday, and particularly as we have discussed that transmission loss is a function of generation. Now we will look into this transmission loss in detail. Transmission losses, as already been discussed, transmission loss are functions of plant generation. There are functions of plant generations. They are approximately expressed as there is an approximate transmission line loss formula as represented approximate transmission loss formula. PL is equal to, where PL is the transmission loss, PL is equal to sigma I is equal to 1 to n. This is known as the approximate transmission loss formula, where they represent generations at I, j lines. And this particular term is in this term, these two are considered as generations at ith and jth plant. And these B terms, normally referred in the literature as B terms, B terms are considered as transmission line loss coefficients. These are often referred as B terms. Okay. Now, for a 2 buses, for a 2 bus system, where n is equal to 2, the formula will be so if I expand this is the expression for a 2 bus system. If it is for a 3 bus system, This is the expression. I'll assume Vij is equal to Vji. I'm considering this term. So this is an approximate transmission line loss, and as already been said, similar to the incremental cost, there is a term called as incremental transmission. Normally referred as IPL. DPL by DPGI. This is nothing but rate of change of transmission loss per a unit change in power generation. This is change of transmission loss per unit change in transmission loss per unit change in power generation. This is called as incremental transmission loss, and it varies for unit to units or for plant to plant. This is about your incremental transmission loss, which we have discussed yesterday. This incremental transmission loss, or this term of transmission loss, is to be included in your ELD problem from today. I hope you have understood. So let's move on to solving our problem of economic load dispatch using transmission losses. Sorry, including transmission losses. So we will come back to the problem which we have discussed yesterday. We have discussed yesterday that for solving economic load dispatch problem, including losses, the condition for economic load dispatch is this was the problem. This was the condition which we have derived at the end of yesterday's class. Now, we will look back at the basic equations, considering the cost of generation at the plant, CI is equal to, in the first class, In the first class, I hope you do remember. This was the basic equation of the cost function. It is a quadratic expression in terms of power generation. This was the term which we have employed. And similarly, PL is now we will try to get a differentiation of these terms. We will include in this particular one. Now, from equation 2, dCi by dPgi is equal to, this is AIPGI plus DI, isn't it? Whereas from equation 3, we do have 2 sigma, isn't it? We are having 2 sigma, right? So, how is all this? When we do have 2 sigma with respect to PGI, so what we will be getting? So, first of all, we will take when J is equal to I. Okay. When J is equal to I, what will be this expression? When J is equal to I, the expression will be for your easy understanding. Let's get back to our we'll consider a two-way plant. Consider a two-plant system. As already been discussed, PL is equal to B11 P1 square plus 2B12 B1 P2 plus B22 P2. If I differentiate it with respect to P1, what is the term which I am? 2B11 P1 plus 2B12 P2. That's it. Isn't it the expression? Yes. Now, applying the same, if you can have a generalized expression for this, what I can. So, which means that I am going to get a 2 and 1 represents 1, whereas this one, it is varying, if you see. So, can I write it as 2 into sigma J is equal to 1 PL Bij. This is a generalized expression, and I am trying to employ the same expression here. 2 sigma J is equal to 1 PL Bij. Because 2 is common. B11 P1 plus B12 P2. So this is Bij Pj. You can verify it even for a 3-plant system. So for a 3-plant system, what we will be getting additionally here? If I do have a 3-plant system, what I will be getting additionally here? So if I differentiate it with respect to P1, what I will be getting? For this term, I am getting 2B11 P1. For this term, I am getting 2B12 P2. For this term, I am getting 2B13 P2. If you take 2 as common, you can see B11 P1, B12 P2, B13 P2. The same as a generalized expression for incremental transmission loss. So this is the generalized expression for incremental transmission loss. And this is a generalized expression for incremental costs. Now, substituting these 4 and 5 in equation 1, lambda is equal to one minus 2 sigma j is equal to 1 to n dij. This is equation number 6. J is varies from 1 to n. J varies from 1. Now, if I separate this, such that for j is equal to I term, what I will be getting? Pi minus the remaining. J is equal to 1, j is not equal to I, L, dij. Now, this is equation number 7, assuming that this is equation number 7. Now, my target is to determine or to subject PGI. So, okay, I'll represent it as G here because this is power generation. Now, subjecting PGI, you multiply this one to here and you subject PGI separately. So, what is the expression which you will be getting now? So, what is the expression which you will be getting at the end of this? I'll directly write this expression for you. The expression is 1 minus Bi minus sigma j is equal to 1, j is not equal to I, n, okay, 1 minus Bi by lambda minus. Okay. So we will have by 2 Bii plus Ai by lambda. I hope you can verify this. I hope this is the final expression. This is the expression. Okay. Where A and B are the terms in incremental cost. Do remember, A and B are the terms in incremental cost. Okay. Now, I will write this one very clearly here on the top. PGI is equal to generation at any plant is equal to 1 minus This is the expression for power generation at I. And this particular equation is called as coordination equation. This equation is called as coordination equation. And we will employ this particular equation solving the problems in ELD, including losses. Try to remember this problem where A and B are terms in incremental cost equation. Lambda is a random constant, whereas B represents transmission loss coefficient. I hope you have understood the derivation of coordination equation. Thank you.